in Senator Elizabeth Dole's office. It has been an amazing experience. It's very competitive, and I think that drives you to work even harder. The staff have been incredibly nice, very receptive. You know, it's neat when you hear staffers talk about child welfare issues and you can kind of step in and give them a little bit more insight into it, and to know that you're knowledgeable in an area where they aren't. I came into foster care around the age of 12. I had a very abusive childhood. My mother was an alcoholic. My father was into drugs, and when I was 16 I went to court, and the judge was like, every time I'd go, he'd be like, "Oh, Mary, you're doing so good, you're doing great in school." He's like, "Keep up the good work." But that was it. It was like 2 minutes and I was out of the courtroom. And this time he actually said, "Mary, what do you want for your life?" And I was like, whoa, you know. I was just overwhelmed, and I was like, well, I want what everyone wants. I was like, I want my own family. And he just looked at me and he was taken back by it, and he was like, "So you want to be adopted?" And I said, "Yeah, I want my own family." And he looked at the lawyers and he said, "Do it." He was like, "Terminate her parents' rights." And so at 16, I went up for adoption. And everyone was like, "Mary, why?" They're like, "You know, in 2 years you're going to be grown. You know, you're going to go out on your own. You're going to go to college." And I said, "It's not about now." I was like, "It's about the rest of my life." I was like, you know, I want to know when I get married, I want a dad who's going to walk me down the aisle. I want to know that I'm going to have grandparents to bring my kids home to. And I was like, you know, I want that. I was like, it's just more than right now. So my case manager said, you know, "Mary, you're kind of old. People don't usually typically want teenagers. They think they're very set in their ways." And they're like, you know, "But we're going to really work on this." And so all weekend I was like a nervous wreck. I was like, you know, it's either they're going to tell me that we're sorry, you're too old, we couldn't find a family for you. And so like I couldn't eat all weekend, I couldn't sleep. I was just a nervous wreck. And I get home, I get off the school bus and her car's in the driveway, and I remember walking in and I'm thinking, this is going to change the rest of my life, you know, this is it. And so I walk in, sit down, and she's just smiling, she's all happy and all calm, and I'm just like, "Oh, go ahead and tell me, you know, put me out of my misery." And so she hands me this book, and she said, because I had been working on a life book for my adoptive family so they could see and learn all about me. Well, the family had made a book also to show me so I would know about them. And so she sits down and she said, you know, we met on Friday, the adoption committee, and there was like 4 families that were candidates for you, and they chose one. And she's like, "If you'll open the book, it's the family that would like to adopt you." And so I opened it, and it was my caseworker, who had actually stopped being my caseworker so I could go up for adoption because it was conflicting. So, but I opened it and I was totally shocked. I had no clue. I had never known that his family had even, you know, taken an interest in me or anything. I mean, he was a great case manager. He would take me to ice cream, he would take me to doctor's appointments and here and there, but I never had a clue. The next day they came over, we visited, and the next day I met my sister and spent a couple of weekends with them, and then I moved in, and it was perfect. I mean, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it can't be perfect," but it was honestly like I was meant to be there. I never felt uncomfortable. I never felt unloved, unwanted, anything. It was just wonderful. It was just meant to be.